Hey, everybody. Welcome to Fridays with Steve here in 2024. Really excited to have another episode with a guest, bringing on experts from our partners and vendors and the companies we work with is always some of the more fun episodes for me and hopefully for you as well. It's great to get additional expertise from others. And so we're bringing Josh Starkey on. Josh is one of the engineers that we work with in the channel from Neat. And he's got tons of information. He's got an amazing home office, and we'll be talking to him here in a couple of minutes. And so, I'm really just going to see where the conversation takes us with Josh. He's got the ability to get into products and features. We'll talk about the Neat lineup. We'll talk a little bit about what makes them different, right? So one of the challenges for us here at Apex is figuring out who to partner with. It's a big ecosystem. Even in the world of just Teams and Teams rooms, there's a lot of partners out there with certified devices. And so what we've tried to do is figure out who fits those customer scenarios best. And Neat is definitely one of those partners. They've got some cool devices and some real innovation that makes a difference for our customers. And so we'll talk about all that. We'll see where the conversation takes us. And before I bring him on, I just wanted to share that for those of us who are waiting for AI to take over, just for fun this morning, I tried to ask Microsoft Designer to give me an image that I could use as a transition slide for when I bring Josh on. And I said, hey, give me an image of a Neat board and a Neat frame in a meadow. And that is, in fact, a nice board and a pretty nice frame to it as well. It is, in fact, in a meadow, but context is king, right? So I know we all saw the Copilot announcement just in the last few days, and that's really going to bring that context in. I have a feeling if I would have asked internal Copilot some questions about Neat, it would have found my correspondence and the documents and some of the things that we've shared with Neats, the meetings we've had, video recordings we've done, and come up with something a little bit better. So without any further ado, let's bring Josh on and give him a hearty Fridays with Steve welcome and get the conversation started. So Josh, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Steve.
So first and foremost, I kind of alluded to it. One of the things that's a little bit difficult in a market like this is choosing your partners, right? Who are you going to go to battle with? And we've chosen Neat mostly because some of the really cool scenarios and innovation that you do. So maybe just take a moment and kind of tell us, where does Neat come from, and kind of what's your unique perspective on attacking these customer scenarios?
Yeah, absolutely. So Neat's a young company for all intents and purposes. We're still kind of a startup. We started in 2019, but prior to that, our founding members and kind of core team was all part of companies like Tandberg and Kodian, some of those Norwegian companies, and that were later kind of rolled up into Cisco and then split off to create Econo and Pexif, some software companies to kind of bridge those standards-based endpoints and the modern desktop side of things. And so then they kind of got the band back together to create Neat, really around making dedicated purpose-built devices for Zoom rooms and now Teams rooms. And so really simplicity is kind of at the core, both from an installation and management standpoint, but also a use standpoint. And Microsoft, when we're talking Microsoft Teams rooms, really kind of owns the experience for the most part. But Neat has kind of put our own little twist on things, and some of the places we can do that and kind of make it our own is through the out-of-the-box setup process, and also through kind of some of our AI audio and video capabilities, which hopefully we'll show a little bit later.
Yeah, we actually are in the midst of producing an unboxing and setup video with the Neat frames we just purchased for our office. We have a couple of cool scenarios. I'm in a lounge here within the office. We're going to have a frame in here that you can You can ad hoc reserve or reserve ahead of time and kind of have a more casual space to join meetings, or maybe you want to leave your laptop at your desk. And the other one we're going to use for a virtual lobby application, which I think a lot of customers are looking at. Is that the kind of innovation and uniqueness, both in the frame and some of your other devices, that really you think really makes you kind of stand out in the market?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the frame specifically, the first thing people usually notice is the portrait orientation, which is different. You know, most desktop devices and personal devices have the typical 16:9, a landscape orientation, and so we decided to do it a little bit differently with the Neat frame, and there were multiple reasons for that. In fact, initially we had kind of bounced around the idea of making a portrait version and a landscape version, and the more I guess that was discussed. The more it was kind of all in on the portrait side, but the biggest thing was it really reduces the footprint of the device, and so it's roughly the size of a piece of letter paper folded in half, so you can fit it on busy desks that are already taken up with lots of electronics or post-it notes or whatever may be on there, and so really having that small device where it's not it's truly a standalone device. It doesn't have to be a part of your desktop setup or your workstation. And then also, I put that camera right there at like the perfect eye level, so you don't get the bald spot bird's eye view. You don't get the up the nose, double chin view. It's all right on with that fresh perspective, giving you kind of an eye to eye look. And with the Neat frame specifically, I think the portrait orientation really lends itself well to like a one-on-one conversation where you have one far end participant, and it really just has a natural feel to it. We also, like you said, it's great for putting in lobbies for either virtual receptionist or virtual front desk, and then hot desking scenarios as well. So this could become the user's device for a block of time. But yeah, and then there are all sorts of different use cases. You could use it for financial reasons, like in bank branches for doing some virtual banking. I've got my Neat frame behind me actually on a little medical cart, and I've got it set up in kind of a kiosk mode, so it would dial, a nurse's station or a health professional of some sorts. They could come in and talk to the patient, do whatever is needed to be done. But then you could also sit at a lobby and have it more of that virtual receptionist, to either dial a receptionist that could manage multiple different buildings or campuses, or you could even set it up to call different departments. So lots of flexibility around the frame for sure.
Well, I touted your cool home office, and now you've called out the Neat frame in the background. I think if I could get you to bring that kind of into the shot, we'll also get a start on some of the other innovation that Neat has when it comes to cameras and audio technology.
Yeah, absolutely. And you noticed as I stood up, it followed me right back here and framed up the frame. So this is all part of our unique AI camera tracking capabilities. But yeah, I've got this one set up right now for a couple of different areas. So I can pull up a floor plan. I can kind of navigate around, find some spaces that are open, and maybe find the time to reserve them. Go ahead and block them off from this device that may be in a lobby. But again, I could also contact a receptionist or Dr. Nicholas Cage in my case. So really, just intuitive way to kind of make this device not just a true video endpoint. And this little medical stand is made from a partner of ours. It's not a Neat device or anything like that, but it really adds the portability, and you can wheel this around. It's a big step up when we're talking like telehealth type stuff. In the past, there was less of a need for that, and I think post pandemic and everything, it's used not just for rural areas. It's used for well visits and stuff like that, and really there are times where patients just need to contact family members and stuff. So this is a big step up from like an iPad on a cart or just a little tablet on a cart. This is a dedicated video device with high end components that were purpose built for this purpose.
Well, and you highlighted the stand, and we actually purchased because ours is going to go in a public space outside our office suite here. There's a nice sort of array of partners that you have in your ecosystem that sort of enable these solutions, right? I kind of think about like the iPhone and iPad ecosystem with covers and frames and stands and all those kinds of things. We were really surprised with the frame how you've got a lot of partners that have figured out that, hey, I need a public device, but it's also got to be locked up. So it's very cool that you have those partnerships.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And the frame is a bit of a unique device because it doesn't. We don't really have any mounting options for it. With the rest of our devices, we've got proprietary mounting options, most of which, depending on the device, are going to ship with it every time. But this device, being kind of a desktop device, it doesn't. It wasn't really designed with a suite of accessories or anything like that. But it does have quarter 20 threads on the bottom, which is kind of how it attaches to this card and most of the other third-party options out there. But so you could put it on a tripod if it was a temporary setup or something like that. But yeah, we've got some great partners out there who have built some really sleek and cool devices to complement the sleek and coolness of the frame.
So, as you went into this part of the conversation, you moved away, the video reframe, the audio stayed crisp. Maybe tell us a little bit about some of that innovation now.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. We're kind of getting to the two big things that I often hear from our customers and partners that kind of set us apart to some of those other options out there. And so the first one is really the ease of setup and ease of use, which again I touched on earlier. But the second is the camera tracking or framing, and we're doing this kind of uniquely. Our team took a different approach than they had in the past at some of those other companies, and so rather than just focusing on the active speaker and kind of triangulating the talker's voice and honing in on them that way, we decided to design our devices with super high resolution camera sensors, and pair them with the appropriate type of a lens for the space that they're targeting, and that gives us the ability to kind of have this larger canvas in which we can work. So if you look at our devices, you're not going to find your typical or traditional pan tilt zoom cameras with robotics and mechanics where you've got failure points and limited fields of view and all that. So we designed our devices to leverage digital zooming, which is effectively kind of cropping the image. And so the camera is not seeing, it's not physically moving around. This is all just logically happening within it through AI. And we're doing this by leveraging object detection, and the object we're looking for is the human body. And I still fit that mold for now, but we're really kind of looking for head, shoulders, and parts of the torso. So really, if I had other human-shaped objects in here, the neat bar I'm using would identify those objects, and depending on which framing mode I'm in, it would kind of frame us up accordingly. So in order to show this, I don't have any other humans here, but I do have some human-shaped objects. So I'm going to grab a couple buddies.
I love the phrase human shaped objects. I'm going to have to remember that one.
Yeah, yeah. It may end up on my gravestone at this point, but
Oh, Jerry Down.
Jerry, it's Friday. He's ready for the weekend. So. So right now, you noticed as I brought these new human-shaped objects here into my office, it dynamically adjusted to accommodate for us, and so I'm not only, or I'm no longer the only one in frame. And if I turn one of these to the side so they no longer look human, they would kind of be eliminated from this frame. And so this is obviously better than a full wide shot, which I can show you. This is really kind of the camera extents, the full canvas in which we can kind of work. And so if it's in group framing, again, it's going to dynamically adjust to the extents of the participants. And if participants were to come into the conference room late or leave early, it would adjust to them dynamically. And this is better, again, than that wide shot, but it's still not great. You can now see, part of my ceiling and lights and all sorts of stuff. Jerry, for once, is smaller in proportion to George because of his distance from the camera, and so not a true equitable experience, if you will. Now I'm going to enable symmetry, symmetry, or individual auto framing, and what you're going to see is now it's eliminated more of that unnecessary stuff in my office. Now Jerry is rightfully, of closer size to George there, and so this is really how one of the differentiators, I think, and something that we have a patent on, and we're quite proud of. And again, it's from the feedback that I get from our customers and partners, this is one of their favorite options and functions of the Neat system. And so again, since it's a single camera that's tracking us, I can move around independently. They can't because they're made of cardboard, but if they
They're
were human,
human-shaped
they could.
objects.
Exactly, they're human-shaped objects, and so yeah, they now even if I'm sitting down, even smaller than George and Jerry, it still tries to align us as close as possible, kind of head and shoulders. That way, we're still getting that equitable experience, and the beauty of our approach and our devices is we try to make them as natural, or well, we try to design them to ensure behavior can be natural, and by that I mean, I've touched my Neat pad over here a couple times to change the different framing styles, but generally speaking, you should be able to set it and forget it, and get on with your meeting, and behave naturally, and so really that's kind of the whole point of video, is to get the nuances of the human body language, and those kind of candid reactions that you're not going to get over an audio only call, or even a wide shot where you can't see details of the participants. But again, that natural behavior shouldn't be hindered by the technology. And so our AI is really kind of tasked with making a lot of the decisions here, and it's kind of spatially aware as well. So if I switch locations with George here, it's going to kind of track us for a second, and then it's going to realize, okay, they're going to stay in those positions. We're going to make it more logically sound. And so we switched, it switched our locations in the stream out to everyone as well. And so that way, if I were to turn to talk to George, or my arm were to incidentally enter his frame, it's not this disjointed confusing type of a behavior that for you all on the far end. We're not facing away from each other. You don't see crazy lens flying in from strange directions or anything like that.
Yeah, that's what I'm finding so interesting, and I've seen you do this a couple of times, is that it isn't this sort of like laser tracking feel, from some sort of Defense Department device. It's way more natural, in the sense that I almost feel like the device is thinking for a second to be like, hey, is Josh really going to stay over there, or is he just going to come right back? Because if he's going to come right back, I'm gonna just wait him out, right? Versus just instantly following every little jittery movement. There was almost, even though at times it was like, oh, is that lag? And it's like, well, no, it's kind of a human approach to it, saying, hey, is this really a move? Is this really a change?
Yeah, exactly. And all of that has been well thought out by our R&D team, and adjusted too. This is a very mature solution that's been out in the wild for a couple of years now. And so, it's constantly evolving, not just because it's AI and we're leveraging machine learning, but also because we're getting feedback from our customers and our partners, and they're saying, hey, this could be a little distracting, or it might be better like this. And so we're constantly reevaluating those thresholds and timing and everything. But like you said, we don't want to constantly follow every move. Right now there's only one human-shaped object here that can actually move around. But imagine if we had a conference room with we can do up to 15 individual frames on our Bar Pro product, which is targeting larger spaces, but we recommend that up to closer to 30, north of 30 participants. So imagine if we had 20 people all framed up individually, and each one of them was tracked for their every little nuanced move. It would be
Right.
incredibly distracting to the far end. And so even when we look at our smaller room devices like I'm using now versus the Bar Pro, those timings and thresholds are a little bit more conservative on the Bar Pro, just because a lot more chances of movement with a lot more people. And so yeah, we really tried to make it have that natural look and feel of a true kind of cameraman, or each of us having our own little camera crew on us. But we also wanted to make sure that it wasn't overzealous virtual camera crews that were hanging on everything. So yeah, constantly reevaluating timing thresholds and all that stuff, and always trying to improve.
Any other widgets or video pieces that you'd like to show us with, like I said, your very fancy home office here?
Yeah, so one of them that we have a unique way of showing right now, because I've got my bar connected to my laptop in kind of a BYOD configuration, and so typically we have a function called the framing boundary, which is another solution that we have a patent on, and the framing boundary. If I open it up here, you're going to be able to see what you would typically see
Okay.
on the front of room display when kind of configuring the system. And what you can't see is on my neat pad here. I've got a couple of sliders, and one of them is labeled width, the other's labeled depth. And ultimately, I have the ability to kind of dial in the area of interest that we want our AI to focus on. So if I adjust my depth slider here, it's going to start to show red squares around the human-shaped objects rather than the green square like you see on me. And so this is, a super intuitive, easy way to figure out who's, outside of that boundary and who's inside of it. We've got kind of measurements noted on here, so you could potentially do this without the help of cardboard or humans, but this really gives you a nice, easy way you can kind of get up and move around and kind of figure out where that boundary lies. But the idea here again is to teach our AI what to focus on and what to ignore. So I'm still in symmetry. I've still got individual auto framing. I can go back to the wide shot, but it's not. It's no longer framing the three of us up independently, and now it is only focused on me. It's not eliminating them because they're behind me, but again, it's not framing them up. It's not providing that kind of equitable size and feel to you all. And this is great for if you just want to work with cardboard cutouts behind you. Maybe that's your style, or maybe you've got glass in the conference room, and your landscapers are constantly, scheduled right on top of the important meeting. It would, if you didn't set a boundary or you didn't have that option, it would, identify that human-shaped landscaper out there, frame them up, and send them to the far end, and potentially get a little chuckle out of the other participants there. And also think about neat frames or neat boards where they're in open office areas, or wheeled into a lunchroom or something like that. This is a great way to tell it to ignore people who may be doing other things like eating lunch.
Yeah, you raise an interesting point. I mean, I think some of our customers have struggled or have really spent a lot of engineering time on some of those really, really large spaces. But I think like the Neat board specifically is a really interesting scenario for a large space, because you can bring it in and say, yeah, but I only care about the people that are within 12 feet of it. And boom, now you've taken a corporate cafeteria or an open atrium, or an open lounge, or creative space, and enabled it with Teams rooms without, dividing walls and, conduit and all kinds of nonsense, because we can just roll a Neat board into the space.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like bring this, the device to the place that you'd like to meet or you need to meet. And especially coming out of the pandemic, the trends have been video enabling as many spaces as possible. And this is a kind of almost a loophole. You can purchase a couple of Neat boards on floor stands, and keep them ready to kind of divvy up as needed. Enter the space that is needed. It could go into the C suites one day, and then like you said, kind of a cafeteria or something the next. And so, and then starting to ship right now, we've got the Neat Board 50 that was announced back at InfoComm in June, and it was really intended to be even more flexible. The 65-inch is a fantastic size for the size spaces it's intended for, but the 50-inch lends itself to more of that flexibility. We can get it in and out of elevators with ease. And it's height adjustable. It's got height adjustable floor stand or a height adjustable wall mount option as well. So it really, is meant to have that dynamic flexibility that everybody seems to be craving these days.
Boy, have we got a story about getting a 105-inch display to the second floor of a building. So let's bring up that portfolio view that you provided us, and maybe let's just spend our last couple of minutes. You've been alluding to the board. I see a beautiful, neat board there. Just talk to us a little bit about the portfolio as a whole.
Yeah. So I'll briefly kind of run through the devices, and any further detailed information, reach out to Steve and the team, and we'll get you said information. But really, I mentioned earlier I was using the Neat Bar, and so this was kind of our flagship device, the first product that started shipping, and it's really intended for small to medium spaces up to about 10 participants. It does pair with a Neat Pad, which is shown in kind of two configurations here. This is a single cable device for power and communication. So just needs PoE, and can even attach to a wireless network if that's helpful. And then it can be configured as a scheduler as well, or a Teams panel in Microsoft World. And so the big sister to the Neat Bar is the Neat Bar Pro, which is targeting larger spaces. So that's the one I mentioned, can go up to 15 individual crops and symmetry. And it's got beefier components than its little sister there, but also still requires the pad. But then when we look at our all-in-one devices like the Neat Board, it's really got similar, layout and everything. Really the same components that you find in the Neat Bar and the Neat Board. And it's just paired with a 65-inch multi-touch 4K display. And so, like you said, everything you really need is there. You have the optional kind of A-frame metal cart that can be wheeled in as needed. And then this is the Board 50 that I alluded to. So this is the height adjustable dynamic floor stand. And then the Neat frame, which we talked about as well with the portrait orientation, is over here. So and then this little I guess ominous fellow kind of hanging down in the middle is the Neat Center that is going to start shipping very soon. And so these two devices in the middle are orderable today, but these are our, the newest members of the family. So, just taking a broader look, we've got things that are focused on the individual personal user, think small to medium to large, and then really kind of flexible sized spaces that you can kind of make your own.
Yeah, and just one last plug for the board. I mean, a couple of things that we run into with customers. The first is telling them, that they don't need the pad or the panel. It's a touch screen. It's wholly self-contained and real easy to use. And we're actually finding, and I'm curious just to hear if you're seeing some of the same things, because we talked about boards in open spaces and stuff like that. We're actually finding customers that just want to use a board for simplicity's sake, right? I don't have to do low voltage wiring. I don't have to put holes in the wall of a leased space. I'm moving in 6 months, so I want something that can come with me. We've heard that feedback from customers too about the board.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, think about, putting blocking in a wall, having power relocated, getting new data drops, core drilling to get stuff to the table. I mean, there's so much, infrastructure needs that come along with even a simple, bar and pad type of a setup. So, and then not to mention, if you're looking at a space that needs a 65-inch display, why have a modular system with multiple, manufacturers in there when you can have this all-in-one sleek system that, is truly, I mean, this isn't a bolt-on, modular thing. This is a really sleek looking all-in-one chassis. And so, yeah. And like you said, you don't need the pad, but if it is going to be permanently installed on a wall, the pad is a great way to keep people from having to, get up and walk across the room to mute themselves ahead of a sneeze or something like that. But yeah, no, I think with the 50-inch, we're going to see that even more. And the 50-inch added an HDMI output. So even if the 50-inch isn't necessarily large enough to accommodate the viewing distances, you could still, pipe this into or do a multi-display configuration and connect it to a video wall or projector, or that 105-inch display you had to, get up the staircases.
Yeah, that's kind of an interesting scenario, right? So you still have the mobility, but then if you are in a more traditional conference room with some video, you can go ahead and leverage what's already there.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Kind of, make it a little modular. You could even share it between different spaces depending on those needs.
That's really cool. Well, hey, Josh, this has been great. We love our partnership with Neat. We're excited for 24. You've got a great product lineup. I'm excited that our frames are getting deployed here in the next week or so for our lobby. Again, real world scenario in the world of hybrid. How do you securely receive UPS packages? You have a Neat frame so they can do like a channel alert to our procurement team. And then if it is really UPS, we can buzz you in the front door even if nobody's in the suite. It's a really, really elegant solution.
I love it. I love it. Thanks for having me, Steve.
All right. Thanks, Josh. All right. So I'll kind of close out our talk with Josh Starkey from Neat. Amazing innovation from them, and really, really great stuff when it comes to their product line, even if it isn't out in a meadow. So like Josh alluded to, anything you need, go ahead and contact Apex. This is one of our key solution offerings to the market for Teams rooms. Hundreds of customers, hundreds of projects under our belt, large deployments of rooms and boards and panels. We even have some customers that'll take those Teams panels like the NeatPad and they'll put them as schedulers for rooms without any tech in them, simply because it sure is fun to look down a long hallway and see all those red and green lights. So as a follow-up, go ahead and contact your Apex account executive or your sales contact. If you're a managed customer, reach out to your CSM. As always, drop me a note, sthompson@apexdigital.com. I'll get right back to you if there's some slides you've seen on Fridays with Steve or some further information about anything that you've seen, or go ahead and visit us on the website, apexdigital.com. So that's it. Great episode with Josh from Neat. Love all the innovation, and they're a great partner for us to have and be able to bring to all of our customers. We'll see you again next time on Fridays with Steve.